Paul calls me up. I've got my cell phone. He calls me up. He said, I understand your need of a lawyer. I was like, yes, I think I do need one. And he said, okay, well, get on down to my office. I was like, I can't get on down to your office. They're holding me. And he said, they're holding you on what charge? No charge. They're just holding me. He's like, let me talk to whoever's in charge there. So I say to the FBI agents, it's for you. And they take my phone away. And, I don't know what Paul said to this day, but, they came back, gave me my phone, and I was on the street in about a minute. And off I went. So that's kind of the series of events of those days.
So initially you were being charged essentially as a bioterrorist, and it took about a week before it became clear to a lot of the authorities that that was not indeed the case, but this did not go away. This case are transmogrified into a mail and wire fraud charge, with the charge being that your colleague, Robert Farrell at the University of Pittsburgh, had gotten some of the bacteria, this harmless soil bacteria that they had found you with, had ordered it from a company under, I guess, false pretenses, in the sense that he didn't tell them that he was going to give it to you to use in an art piece, but the company hadn't raised any objections. So no one was saying that they were defrauded. But
no, just the government was.
Right, and so then so you were just telling me you were on probation until 2005.
Right.
Robert Farrell last October pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor, and his family later said that he was doing that under duress because he was fighting cancer and had suffered strokes, and so the stress of it was why he entered this plea and paid a small fine. And then on April 21st, a judge basically dismissed the case, and just said there wasn't any evidence for it, and he couldn't even charge you with this, even if there was evidence.
What he said is he dismissed the indictment as insufficient on its face. And what that means is that, well, first you have to understand about indictments, and in them, when the judge considers one, whatever's in that indictment, he has to take as fact, even though it's only allegations. So that's one of the reasons why federal indictments tend not to get dismissed. There's other reasons too, if they give a bare bones indictment, but I won't get into all the legal stuff of it. But what it means is saying, even though everything that's said in this indictment I must take as fact, even doing that, there's no crime here. There is no crime, and so we're throwing this out.
And the government had 30 days to appeal that, and May 21st, that period expired.
Yes.
So it's been a week or so.
Yeah. So I've been. Yeah. So this is. Yeah. It's,
so here he is,
tasting freedom.
So when I first heard about the case, there was precious little in it about what exactly this art is that you make, which is sometimes, unfortunately, how journalism goes. But and I'm sure that there are people who also want to know, what is this stuff that you make with living things? So maybe you could tell us and even show us some of it.
Okay. Well, Critical Art Ensemble has always done interventionist work that we've always, wherever we may find them, challenge authoritarian tendencies in culture and find some way either to call attention to them or subvert them in the luckiest cases. And one of the places we were very interested in working is the great life science revolution that's going on. In terms of technology, it's probably the most significant of all times and will certainly have a monstrous impact on everybody that lives on this planet. So kind of bad trends we saw in that were immediately attracted us to, because it's the kind of thing we do. Now, it's tough to just talk about the work. So I'm going to show you a couple of pieces that the FBI was most interested in kind of a very foreshortened way, but just to kind of give you an idea. Free-range grain was, this is what I had the molecular biology lab for, because we were testing food. In this case, we were doing it in Europe. We were testing food to see if the non-labeling of GMO was actually true. right? And that was kind of our way to get people into the theater of bring us your grains if you're curious about whether they might be contaminated with GM or not. And we'll test it for you. But you know, what we were really trying to get people to is more a discussion of what it means if indeed the food supply, the production of food, is controlled by a handful of multinational corporations, right? And so that we kind of used this as a springboard into other kind of discussions we were interested in having. So you can see, I mean, it's not so much to see, it's just a lab, you know, and only in this case not in its usual spot. It's set up in a museum, and it's, you know, it completely reframes the arguments and discussions regarding GM products. So we had a good time. So, you know, here's the kind of stuff I had in my house. You can see there's kind of the little PCR there. You know, it's just one of these little mini ones. You know, how anyone could think that we were going to do something nefarious with it, I don't know. And especially they knew, because they confiscated all my reagents, you know, they knew exactly what I was doing with it. I told them, I showed them documentation, and, you know, and they had the reagents themselves. But again, the FBI and the police, neither of which were really convinced. They were pretty sure that doing work like this was leading to trouble. And you know what, part of this that goes into a very deep discussion, which I don't know if we have time for here, but the motivations that pushed this case along. You know, some of it was the kind of work we were doing. Right. Some of it had to do with me in particular and a history of activism and doing political cultural work, right? But there was a lot of elements to my case that was just about making examples, and it could have been anybody in this room. You know, they would have been happy with anyone.
Did you have a sense, I mean, was that sort of a kind of a sense you had, or were there things that people were saying that made you think this is the agenda?
Well, it was partly the prosecutor had said in a series of very big trials before, particularly the Lackawanna 6, which is another thing I was never allowed to talk about till now. No, I can't. Is the Lackawanna 6, which was, you know, one of the most dubious prosecutions ever, but one that won for the Buffalo Department of Justice great reward and great riches and trips to the White House to meet George Bush, and of course the lead prosecutor, the U.S. Attorney, Michael Battle, got his big promotion to be kind of subcommandante to Gonzales. And that wasn't lost on anyone, which is why, you know, we have so many bogus terrorism charges, right? That was the charge to really reel in. Right? It's kind of like drugs in the 70s. You know, if you pulled in a big drug bust, you know, they made movies about you and you were a hero. Now, what the trend is, if you can pull in a terrorist bust, you know, you're going to be a big hero and you're going to be rewarded tremendously. Michael Battle, of course, some of you may know, his career ended rather abruptly after being questioned by Congress about his role as the Axeman in the Attorneygate scandal. So, happily, he's out of government at least. A very good purge for our side.
Was there another?
I'm going to show you the other one that they were, besides here, this one. And this is also a really telling piece. I mean, we did the performance in a couple of different ways, and that is we were recreating actual experiments that were done in the 50s. Regarding germ warfare, but this is what we were using the subtleist for, what we needed, the kind of harmless simulant.
So this was a case where the government had actually been using harmless bacteria to simulate these germ warfare attacks.
They were testing different things, you know, particularly distribution and you know how tightly they could get distribution.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, we did one that the British government did because it was originally commissioned by the Brits, by Arts Catalyst. And so we did the Isle of Lewis plague trials. We redid that, which was ultimately incredibly silly of us, which is what these things, I mean, they were total theater of the absurd pieces of us going out in these incredibly inhospitable waters with big bunches of bacteria and trying to spray these guinea pigs from a mile away to see if we could simulate a boat-to-boat tactical weapon with it.